So, Jessica, walk me through pretty much from your junior, senior year to when you were a freshman on the campus of Texas A&M. What were some steps that you had to make sure you took to make sure that you were setting yourself up to be successful your first year at A&M?
I think the biggest part of recruiting for me was just narrowing down all the schools I just knew I was going to take a visit to and realizing that there was only five that they would pay for. So, really being mindful of what kind of educational programs they had. So, what did I want to get my degree in? Looking at their graduation rate as far as schools. Also, just where they were in proximity from where I'm from. Was I willing to go to a school in California, being from Ohio, or in Florida, or in Texas, or did I want to go to a school, closer to home? Did I care about them having a reputation of this school produces quarter milers, or did I care that what they've only had one NCAA champion? Do I think I can become one as well? Do I want to create my own path in my own lane? And so those are all things that I truly considered when I was looking at my different schools and coaches. Would I be happy being at a school if a coach left? Would I be content with the environment I would be in as far as what the norms were there? And so, did I want to go to a school that my friends went to? There were certain people from other states that I had became friends with, and we were trying to also go to the same school so we can run on the same relays, and that kind of thing. So those are all things I took into consideration, and ultimately, I always tell recruits if they come to A&M and I'm there to always make a pros and cons list, write it down on paper. It's easier that way, and to just really, really evaluate your choice because it matters. Your well being matters, and that kind of thing. So,
That's really good. So, what were your top choices that you wanted to look into?
the top five schools I chose were like Texas, Baylor, LSU, University of Tennessee, and Texas A&M. So, I actually was decided. I had decided on a school which wasn't A&M already, and I went to call the coach and I never got a call back. And so I actually had to open, I had only took four visits. I was like, I'm set. I don't need to look any further. I never got a call back. I got word maybe 2 weeks later that that coach was leaving, or that they had already left to go to a different university. So I had to open my last visit up, and that happened to be A&M. So I always tell athletes it's not always about did you have fun. I always tell people experience wise, A&M was my worst visit. I didn't necessarily have fun. Like I said, I went late in the season to visit, so I didn't go during football season or basketball or anything like that. But one thing that someone who was hosting me said that really sat well with me was just, you're going to be successful wherever you go because you already have your mind made up about what you want. And so um, that really stuck out to me, and that let me know that um, my success wasn't contingent upon this school. This school doesn't make me successful. Who I am as an athlete, who I am as a person is going to make me successful. So yeah.
How many official visits do you feel like it takes to make the proper decision for your future?
I think it depends on the person. For some people, they're sold at one. I would suggest at least taking two or three just so you can have something to compare to. If you go on your very first visit and it's the best you've ever had, um, take the second or third one to realize those visits will show you whether or not you feel like it's the best you ever had or if they truly have what you're looking for, your interest. I don't, like I said, I was set on my fourth visit. I was ready to make my decision. Um, so it just depends on the person. Some people know right away. Um, And for others, it's going to take longer. It might take all their visits. So
For me, Texas A&M was my one and only, and I committed 2 days after because I was like, it just feels like home for me here.
yeah,
So as these high school students are going through like their unofficial visits and their official visits, what do you feel like, if you were to give me your top three answers, what are the top three things that these athletes should look for? Is it how the coaches interact, how the team is? Like, what are some of the things that you really want to look for as you go through this recruiting process?
I think the main thing is this a place that you would want to be if the coach left? If you didn't run track or throw or jump, could you see yourself getting your degree from here? Do they have what you're interested in as far as your degree? Another thing, like I just mentioned it earlier, is this place, close enough for you as far as your family? For some people, they feel like they can go very far away and then only to realize, oh my gosh, I'm homesick, and I can't see my family as much. So I would say, are you a independent person? Are you someone who's okay? If you're so family oriented, are you okay with seeing your family only during Christmas, only during the holidays, if it's somewhere that's far? I think those are things that we don't always consider. We just assume my family's going to fly out to see me. My family's going to drive to see me, or I can always go home. And you come to the realization you can't. You can't go home every weekend. So that would be one thing. And also, what kind of resources does the school offer you as far as your education? Because I was a honor roll top 10% of my class, graduating 3.7 GPA high school student, and I was on academic probation my first year. And I really struggled because I didn't ask for help, not knowing that we had help. Like, I could have got two tutors per, class. I could have had help. And so to me, looking at the educational resources that are available to you, that you might need for your specific type of learning. Some of us are visual, some of us need to see it, some of us need to hear it. And so I think those are the main things, because it's about your well-being, it's about your environment, and it's about your craft and your gifts. So
What do you think was the most challenging thing from transitioning from high school to college?
realizing that procrastination, I do my best work doing that, is just not true. I think the hardest part was just me underestimating how being a student athlete, how juggling that, how difficult that would be. It was easy for me in high school. I didn't have to really worry about certain things as far as my homework and my test and that kind of thing. And so I think the biggest thing is really evaluating yourself and how you are as far as your habits. And are you a morning person? Are you not? Realizing that your classes are going to be scheduled around your track and field training and how what that might mean to you. So
So I know you grew up in Ohio. What made you decide to go a little bit further south in the country? Like, what made you decide to leave your home state?
my dad, he was like, "You never ran in that kind of weather before. You got to go." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "It's hot here." He's like, "No, it's a different kind of hot." And he kept telling me, like, you don't have to go down south, but I would prefer if you went to a warm weather school. So no coincidence that three of my choices were in Texas, and then LSU was next door. I mean, University of Tennessee, they do have a fall, but I'm glad I went, because my dad, for me personally, was right. I was struggling with the humidity and with the summer days. And so I think my dad just telling me that, to go towards the warmth, being from the snow, that helped me. But I know plenty of people who are successful in the snow, so I don't think it it depends on the person. But for me, that's a big reason why my dad was like warm weather. Period.
All right, looking back as you were going from high school into your collegiate career, what was the most important question that you asked on your visit? I remember Ibukume Youngbi was my host, and my important question that I asked her was, how were the football games? Because I'm in love with that sport. So for you, what was that one question that you had on your recruiting visit?
This might sound a little crazy, but I asked one of the universities why their graduation rate was so low. It really kind of worried me just because I wanted to be like a BIMS major at the time, biomedical science. Oh my gosh, I just knew I was going to be a dentist at some point in my life. So for me, I like I said, just coming from where I did and how my parents are, it was just like education is really important to me. So I just that was one of my questions, and because of that, the answer that I received, it's a big reason why I didn't choose that school. But you know, that was important to me. I wanted to be at a place that I can make sure that me choosing this, I was going to get that free education that the 4 years would bring me. So
Were there any particular athletes that you watched growing up and you were like, hey, I want to go to their school? For me, I was in love with Sonia Richards Ross. Like, who wasn't in love with her? And I was like, I want to go to the University of Texas. They never called me back. So, did you have anything similar to where you were like, hey, I'm admiring this athlete and I want to go to their university? Or were you kind of on a different path?
I think I was on a different path, but my senior year of high school, I saw Dee Dee Trotter win USA's when we were I think it was at IUPUI, and she had on this one piece Adidas tracksuit, and she ran 49 something. I was like, I want to go to her school, and I knew she went to the University of Tennessee, which was my initial choice, and I was just like, wow, like just things just didn't work out. But I was like, I want to go. I want to be a volunteer. I want to be there. So Dee Dee really set the tone for me. I mean, she was like, boop. I was like, man, like she put the arms up. Like I said, that one piece speed suit. And I also saw in that same race, Natasha Hastings was in that way and was in that race. And so and she actually wore the South Carolina. I was like, maybe I could go there. I was like, Jessica, you've already made your decision. There's no switching it. So, but seeing them, I was just like, man, those are they getting it done, like in style. I want to do it in style. So yeah.
You know, it's crazy. I actually do remember that race too. That was one of the highlights that I can remember in high school. All right, so a little bit on the nitty gritty side. And I think
Okay.
I can be honest, I was guilty of having these thoughts. There are some
Mhm.
high school athletes who are in high school and they're like, hey, I want to automatically become a professional athlete before going the collegiate path. Could you share with us what your thoughts are when it comes to that? I know for me, my mom was like, hey, your education is very important and you're still developing as a high school athlete and you still have some growth to do. So that's why I was like, hey, I'm just going to continue my journey to the collegiate route. But in your experience and your thoughts, do you mind just sharing with us how you feel in regards to that?
I think that, of course, everybody's decision is their own. I think the biggest thing I've told younger athletes that I've spoken to, because I actually had this question asked to me, is what kind of support system do you have? And I feel like if you don't have a stable and reliable um, system of support, not just your mom and your dad, but your whole like it's going to go beyond that. Everybody has to be on the same page and on board. Then you really should reconsider because you go from being, a young adult that people are so impressed and they're cheering for you because what you're doing um, is you're doing it beyond your years. And then you move to the next stage, and what you're doing is what everybody does. It's nothing special. And so you don't always get recognition. You don't always get praise and applause. You're going to get a lot of criticism. So are you someone that can handle criticism from complete strangers? I think we live in a time where social media, You know, people can reach you, they can write to you, they can write under your post, they can say what they want to say. And I mean, maybe you can block them after the fact, but you know, the words have been said or read, and now you feel a type of way about it. And I think you not only do you need the system, but you need a mature mind to know that you went from being somebody, not that people aren't admiring you, but you're admired for what you're doing, to now this is the expectation. You know, initially it was, wow, what more can you do? And now it's, you need to do this all the time, most of the time, you know, consistently. And I think that's a lot of pressure that a lot of young, you know, young adults don't consider. You know, what they see on TV is the end result. What you're doing, the whole process of getting to that point where somebody is seeing you on TV, that's the really difficult part that a lot of people do not share. And so I feel like you really have to be in a space mentally, and like I said, have that support system to really take on that journey of professionalism, because people are now paying you for a service, and that service is for you to be great. And now you have that expectation on you at 16 and at 17, when, you know, now you're lining up against the very people that you said were your idols, and they're going to tell you good job at the end, but they want to beat you. They're not going to let you in. And so
Well, Jessica, thank you so much for your time and giving us some amazing tips and advice on the whole recruiting process.